Welcome. My name is Melissa McConnell, and I am an artist and a holistic health practitioner, a student of somatic experiencing, and a teacher of art classes, and a body worker as well. So I felt really guided this morning to offer a painting ritual in support of all of those who have been affected by the fires in Los Angeles, and which means this is really for all of us, because no matter where we live on Earth, the potential of losing our home to the elements in some form is there. And we also probably, many of us know people who have lost their homes or who live in that place right now, or just knowing anyone that is going through loss in any way and difficulty. Art, in my experience, is such a beautiful, nurturing, powerful way of alchemizing our state and understanding ourselves, expressing ourselves, and moving energy through us into an expression. And my medium that I love working with is watercolors, which is actually especially poignant for this theme of fire, because of course so many people are praying for the waters to come. But any kind of drawing or painting, writing, movement, dance, music, singing instruments, theater, all of these expressive arts are such important allies and tools and friends to help us express and move experiences through our bodies so that they have a voice in some way. And for me, for whatever reason, that visual voice through color and form, often very abstract, very emotional, very intuitive, that feels very second nature to me, very fluid for me, sometimes easier than speaking. And so yeah, you're welcome. If you have watercolors for this, you're welcome to get them out. I encourage it, even if you haven't used them for a long time. But you can do any art supplies, crayons, colored pencils, any kinds of paints, drawing with a pencil or pen. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is creating the time to see, the time and space to see what may want to emerge. And this is something you can do once or many times, and I'll be sharing whatever comes through me today, but you're welcome to find your own way to connect and let it express through your own voice. Yeah, it feels like such a big experience. I don't have the words. I've been feeling it so much. I've never lived in Los Angeles, but I've visited ever since I was 17. One of my first really good friends, still a good friend, lived there, and she took me to Topanga, she took me to Malibu. I've spent time at the lake shrine, which has actually been preserved in Pacific Palisades, but I have friends that live in all those areas, and I just have been seeing so much being shared, and know people that have lost their homes, and family members and relatives, and just the enormity of it. It's hard to even comprehend, and some of you that may be watching this are actually experiencing it firsthand, so I just please accept this humble offering of like how I don't know how I could even put words to that experience, but I just want to offer something that may bring a little bit of peace and a little bit of beauty and healing to your experience. So I'd like to start by centering into our bodies and really bringing ourselves into the moment as much as possible to be able to be present with our experience. And that's one thing I love about about art for me, is it's this practice that brings me into the moment with myself, no matter where I am. And a journal and watercolors can be taken with me anywhere, really. And so through this little ritual we're doing together, maybe you'll open up to the possibility that you can also have that relationship with the art. And I'd like to start by centering and just settling into our bodies. You're welcome to close your eyes. I'll probably close my eyes because it helps me. That helps me really connect in with my body. You also may want to keep your eyes open if closing your eyes feels any way too overwhelming. And depending on where you are, I'm thinking it may be hard to find something that feels settling to look at, depending on where you are. But finding something in your space, or if there's a tree or the sky or something that feels settling. Otherwise, you can also close your eyes. And we'll start by really allowing ourselves to feel and experience any support that you may sense supporting your body. So for me, I'm sitting on the floor. You might be in a chair, in a bed or a couch, sitting on the grass. I'm not sure where you might be, but exploring that sense of whatever's supporting you. And if possible, letting your body even relax a bit more into being held by that support. So it also could be laying back. I might lay back for a moment against the wall. You could lay back in the chair, even laying down if that feels good. And we're letting our bodies experience their own weight and see if there's any way they can settle and be held. And I notice as I do this that I suddenly become more aware of my breath. I'm not sure if that's happening for you, but see what you become aware of when the act of support is offered to your body. Does your body want to move in any particular way? Does your breath change? Do you start feeling other sensations arise in your body? Just noticing what may surface. And you can take as long with this as you like, so it may even be that you need to pause the video for a bit and really let yourself sink in. I could for a while, but I know I'm gonna kind of move past this part. But this settling, if you have your eyes closed, you may want to open them. Look around a little bit, let your body settle while you're orienting to your space. And you can kind of pendulate back and forth between opened eyes and closed eyes. It's also a time to start being aware of the sounds in your space. I hear my little heater clicking. That's what that is. Maybe you hear things outside. You can also notice the things that you're touching the weight of the clothing on your skin. You might feel drawn to put your hands somewhere on your body that may need a little support. And so we're just opening to our senses and opening to this moment here and letting our bodies have a little support in that. And yeah, again, take as long as you like with that. I notice for me, I don't often give myself that space. So once I have the space, I'm like, oh, that actually feels really good. I kind of want to be in it for a while. And what we're going to do next is bring in, can just be a little bit, bring in a little bit of these fires and their impact. And I'm saying a little bit because for some of us it might be so big. We don't need to invite all of it in, but just a little taste, some aspect. Of course, for those of us who are actually there, there's going to be so much. For those of us that have loved ones and friends that are losing their homes, it's going to be so much to feel. For those of us that are away and looking in and experiencing the grief and the loss, the fear, there's still so much. So, and some of us, it might just be a little bit, or maybe it reminds us of another experience that we've had in our life. So we're bringing that same awareness of continuing that connection with our bodies, and also bringing in a little bit of, here are these fires, here are all these experiences happening from the fires, and they're here, and here's my body being supported, here's my body being held in some way. Here I am safe in this space right now. Here's my breath. Maybe here's my hand touching my belly or my heart. Here's my head being held back by the wall. And here's this experience with the fire. So we're going to take a moment to bring our attention back and forth, and you may feel the experience of the fire really alive somewhere in your body. So maybe take a moment to see if there's some aspect of this. I think I'm feeling it in my upper chest. An anxiety, a confusion, sadness, so complex. Starting to feel into that, where it lives, what its texture is like, what its color might be like, what its movement is like, what it might need. I notice I just started to move my hand in a circle, my body's moving in a little circle, seeing if that place might need anything, and then remembering back to, oh yeah, I have support right now. Here I am sitting here, here I am laying here right now. What part of me can feel that support? So oh yeah, I can lay back, I can feel that support, and I can feel this anxiety, this sadness, and I can feel the support. And I can feel the sadness. And I can feel the support. And I can feel the fear. And I feel my breath. And I feel the support. And I feel emotion. And I feel the support. So part of process of pendulation can be so powerful, and keep doing it if it feels good and comfortable for you, going back and forth. In my experience, especially when we have a very heightened sensation in our body and a very big experience, it might be like all over the whole body is feeling this intensity, because it is such an intense experience. When we can find what's called the counter vortex, a different kind of like the opposite experience of, wow, support and absolute chaos and anxiety and intensity. And when we can, it's like I experience it as building a bridge back and forth between one and the other, and they're so different, but as I go back and forth, somehow it disperses and blends out, almost like a watercolor painting. It's like we put a color there, and then we start bringing the color on, and the color lightens and releases. It's not quite as intense when you spread it out, but it moves across the page. It's like we're almost blending the support in with that intensity from these different parts of our body, these different places, and there becomes a conversation. And I think especially for the places that are so, rightly so wound up, so on guard, so panicked, so survival mode, which of course they would be, to have some resource, even if it's like a little part of our finger or some little part of our toe or our knee or somewhere in our body that feels somewhat okay, that they have some resource, that they are not alone in it, and that there's more there. There is something to support it. And sometimes it might be so difficult to find that, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect every time at all. There's no actual way of it being perfect. It's just an experience in any given moment. But it's something that we can try, and letting ourselves be curious about what can support me, even when it feels like there's nothing at all that could support. Even just having the question, even if we can't find anything, over time, it becomes more natural or second nature to orient to the support as well as to whatever the intensity of the activation is. So that's why it can be a really helpful tool. So we're going to bring this to our paints in just a moment, but I want to first ask you to bring a little glass or jar of water, and even if you're not painting, if you're drawing, still bring some water with you. It could just be the water you're drinking if you're not going to paint with it. But we're going to take a moment to be with the water and honoring all that may have already come up in your body just from our little tune in there, and letting ourselves have this moment to connect with the water. This is something I like to do every time before I paint, especially when painting with others, because here we are in all these different places. In this case, it's a video, so everyone who's watching this, it's at a different time in a different place, but here we all are with our water, and especially with the fires and the lack of water and the desperate longing need for water. How beautiful that we can connect with this element right now and really appreciate its power. And it's a very essential part of the watercolor process. It's the medium that helps the paint move. And when we sit with the water from where we live, we collected this water from an artesian well. The water may be coming out of your tap or from other places. We can start to imagine the bodies of water that may be around where we live that may be connected to where this water came from. And we can also start to imagine the other wild bodies of water and all their forms. So I like to bring in the oceans, the glaciers, the snow, the springs, the rivers, the lakes, the streams, the snow, the frost, the dew, the rains, the tropical rains, the cold, wintry rains, all the temperatures, the hot springs, all the forms of water, our tears. And if you have tears emerge in this session, please let them drip onto your painting or drip into your water. Really bringing ourselves into gratitude with this beautiful water that we have. How all the waters are connected, how all the waters have memory. And also how the water can be a conduit for helping us express. So we can connect with and pray to the water, with the water, that the water may help our own creative flow express in this piece that we're about to create. So in whatever way you'd like to interact, some people like to blow on the water. You can anoint yourself with the water. You can whisper words of intention into the water. You can swirl it. You can put it on different parts of your body. You can gaze into it and try to see your reflection. And when you feel ready, we'll keep that experience of the pendulation kind of alive in some way. We're not putting all our focus on it, but we're still aware of those places in us that are really affected and really feeling these fires. And we're aware of the places that feel supported and feel like they're here with us. And so we're inviting whatever feels in your capacity to be present here for this painting. And we're calling in the presence of all of our benevolent guides and supports to help us create some little painting, some act of beauty and expression. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. We're letting our feeling move through us, letting our experience move through us. And it often just simply takes asking the water, will you help me to express something that's living inside me right now? Asking the paints to help us, and then letting go and trusting what happens. That's what I like to do. Not getting caught up in what it looks like and just being with the process. Sometimes I like to start actually with my fingers, dipping the water onto the page, so you can feel if that feels right to you. But I like to start with a little bit of the water at first because it feels very gentle. It feels like there's no way to make a mistake with some water on a page. And it's nice to let our bodies feel the water too, feel the temperature of it, feel the sensation of it, and see what shape your fingers might naturally want to make with the water. I'm making a circle, which is pretty common for me, but I like to often start with a circle. Depending on the paper you have, the paper may or may not be getting very wet. You can play with how wet you want it to be, how that feels. And then whenever you're ready, you're welcome to dip into the paints, or if you have other art supplies, whatever you're drawn to. I like to really be instinctual about whatever colors I'm drawn to. So see what you're drawn to, and you might need to take a moment to look at your palette and really feel where are you wanting to go first. And it may surprise you, it may be very familiar, but I invite you to drop that color. If you have started with water, just to start dropping it in somewhere. and letting your brush move, and really letting the wisdom of your hand and the water guide you. Letting your body start guiding you. And we've already asked for this little session to be a way for us to connect with our experience of the fire. And so we can trust that we've made that request, and trust in the way it's coming out, trust in the colors we're drawn to, trust in the way our brush is moving, trust that it's all as it needs to be, and really let ourselves let go into the process. So again, feeling that support. I'm noticing my legs being held by the floor, feeling into my breath, feeling, oh, my body wants to rock a little bit. My body wants to move. My body wants to soak up this opportunity to express this. Really trusting yourself. If it's been a while since you did any art, then noticing whatever feelings may come up. And even if you do art all the time, we can still have feelings come up when we start making marks on a page. What's this going to be? What does this look like? Oh, it doesn't look very good, or whatever kind of judgments may come. Really let those be there, but we're also listening to other voices too. Like, I will say out loud, wow, it's so amazing that you're sitting here right now, letting this come through you in this way. I will say, honestly, any painting, any piece of art that I see from anybody, I have so much appreciation from and find beauty and worth in, because it's something that came through us. And the more we practice and devote to something, the easier it often flows through us, because it's more second nature. So if it's been a while, just appreciating that. Oh, it's been a while and it's kind of rusty, but here I am. And for some of us, there may be a lot of emotion, even simply dipping into the water or drawing some shapes and seeing what comes out. So being present with yourself, taking it slowly. I know for some that may be watching, I can't even imagine what you've gone through. And so I encourage you to go really slow and just let it be really gentle painting. Some of us may realize, wow, this opportunity to express is long overdue, and actually there may be a lot of intensity wanting to move through, a lot of quick strokes and fast movements. So noticing that. And if it feels too overwhelming, you can always slow down and take your time and go slowly. It slowly is still really, really powerful and effective. So you can play even with your pacing if you're feeling that there's a lot that wants to tumble out. Practice being really fast and bold, and then moving and going really, really slow. And we're inviting ourselves to paint some expression of how these fires are affecting us, how these fires are moving through us. And if it's not the fires that if you're watching this later, or you're not thinking about the fires, you're thinking of some other, there's so many things it could be that are going on in the world that are very difficult. And so please substitute whatever else that you are feeling and moving through. Please substitute that in. Whatever personal experience or global experience that you're holding, this practice is for any and all of those. And let it be, again, something that supports you. So feeling your body held by the floor or the chair or the ground, wherever you are. Pausing to connect back with your breath. Close your eyes, lay your head back, whatever would be supportive. We're really inviting ourselves to be supported, to be in our bodies as much as we can as we are creative. And of course, sometimes it doesn't feel so good to be in our bodies, so listen to that. Even if you focus simply on the feeling of the brush between your fingers, holding that brush, and I feel that on my thumb, I feel that on my first two fingers. You could just focus on that point if it feels too much to be in the rest of your body. How are you supporting this brush right now? How is your hand able to hold it and move it? And perhaps I start feeling a bit of wonder that, wow, somehow my body is able to move this color around and know what color to pick next and dip it in the water and make these shapes. And oh, that's really kind of miraculous in a way, that I'm able to organize this experience in my body, and that this is able to come through me. So yeah, if you're experiencing any judgment of what's emerging, see if you can find a little bit of gratitude for the wonder and simplicity of the process too. Again, taking a breath, slowing down if you need to. And sometimes it can help to turn your paper around to get a new perspective, so you can play with that if you're feeling stuck in any way. If you want a new perspective, you can just turn your paper one direction or all the way opposite, and oftentimes that allows me to see new shapes, to see what I have going in a different way, to pick up other symbols that I might miss by only looking at it from one direction. I suddenly, by turning it, I understood so much about what this painting is telling me. It's so interesting. I wasn't seeing it, and then as soon as I turned it, I had an awareness. So I'm going to just paraphrase this story that my painting is reminding me of. My painting is turning into some kind of hummingbird, and when my daughter has a book that speaks about this beautiful story of the courage of the hummingbird, and it seems to be, the book says it's a story that's alive in many, many different cultures. And sometimes it may be a hummingbird. In other cultures, I've heard it. In India, I think it's like a squirrel, but the basic theme is very, very similar in all these different stories. So I'm going to tell it from the story of the hummingbird, and it's actually extra potent for me because my friend that passed, she comes to me through hummingbirds, and she actually lived in Los Angeles, and I feel how she's a part of this right now by by what I'm painting. So I'll paraphrase the story, but basically there's a fire in the forest and all the animals are fleeing, and there's a little hummingbird, and she starts thinking of all the plants, all the flowers and their nectar, their beautiful forest home that's burning, and she sees all the animals crossing the river and feeling so like giving up and not thinking there's nothing they can do. And she's asking them, "What, isn't there something we can do, something we can do?" And they say, "Oh, it's too late, it's burning, there's nothing we can do." And she says, "There must be something we can do." And she starts gathering tiny little beakfuls of water and flying over the fire, the flames, and dropping one little drop at a time onto the fire. And the animals are all, the big animals, the lion, the elephant, the giraffe, they're all saying, "You're crazy, this is never going to make a difference. There's no way a little tiny drop of water is going to put out these huge flames." And she just keeps doing it back and forth, and her little wings are getting singed, and she's coughing, but she keeps going back to the river and getting one more drop. And finally they say, "Stop, we can't bear to see you doing this anymore. You're hurting yourself. There's no way you're going to make a difference." And she says, "I'm doing all I can." And the animals all, when she says that, they all kind of take a breath and realize, wow, she's doing all she can. She's the tiniest little animal out of all of us. Maybe we all could do something. And they all start collaborating and doing what they can, and they start collecting water and coconuts and all these leaves and little vessels, and each little animal and big animal carries what they can, and they go to the fire. And the story ends there. I guess we never find out if they were able to put out the fire or not, at least the version we have. But the message is that we all have something we can do to help, and it may look different for every one of us, and sometimes we feel like it may not make a difference, but I think simply the act of doing it, if it feels like true in our hearts, is all we need to really not worry about, but all we really need to focus on. So yeah, I mean, I'm interpreting my painting as I paint, but I'm seeing, wow, this hummingbird showing me, yeah, make this video, share this. It's my medicine, and it's something I can do. And I think it's so easy to get in a place of being frozen, feeling like we can't do anything, or, I mean, I don't live in the area, I live very far away, so I'm not there to go do things, but this is something I can do. And so depending on where you are, what your experience is of this or any other disaster or war or anything that's happening, perhaps your painting or this experience is a way for you to also do a little something and share a little something. And even after you make your painting, depending on the feeling of the painting and what you'd like to, what its journey is for you, maybe something that you want to share with others, to bring some beauty, to bring some healing, some relationship. Or maybe you may feel inspired to create a space where you live with some art materials and create space for others to come together and create some art around their experience. So really, as you see, it doesn't take much. It really is our intention, a little bit of settling and centering, and then having the materials and the space. And I think so often we don't always value art. It does take a little time away, but it's so powerful, and we don't need much time to let something come out. Now we're spending a bit of time doing this, but you really could just take a minute or two sometimes and let something come out. I like to encourage that in my classes where, try for a minute a day even. Like we have a minute, we do so many things during the day. If we even just devote 1 minute, set a timer, and each day you, depending on how deeply this is rattling you and affecting you, each day having a minute or 5 minutes to let some of that come out. Could be through words, could be through sound, movement, could be through painting and drawing. You don't have to limit it to be one thing every day, but see if there's some way you can create that container for yourself to let it move through you. And so much of what I've learned about traumas is when it gets stuck, it really can lodge in there. And when we're able to be with it with some form of movement, even our brush here is moving. It's moving on the page, it's dipping in the water, it's making color move around, it's creating something. Letting that creative force move through us is so powerful. I had a 40-day practice when my cat passed when I was pregnant, and I was swirling in so much grief that I ended up turning to my art, and I did a 40-day practice of painting his portrait every day. And it was so healing, so supportive for me. I don't know where I would have been without doing that. But every day for 40 days, I knew I had that opportunity to be with myself and let some aspect of my love for him come through. And so many of us have had very beautiful experiences in these lands where the fires are, or know people that have built their lives there and are going through so much. And so in some way, we can also let our painting, art, dance, writing, our expressive arts practice be a way to honor that too, the beauty and the love and the richness and the life that has been lived in those places and those families and those homes. Some way that's also, as it's being grieved, it's being honored and it's being celebrated and remembered. So there's such a vast application of the power of art, and that's really what my real true love. I love the expressive arts so much. I love their ability to connect us with our bodies and connect us with each other, connect us with our soul, our spirit, with nature and the cosmos, and whatever we really want to connect with, we can connect with it through art. It's really incredible. And I wanted to offer this as I offer any of my things, to remember that truth, to speak that truth again, because I often forget, and then I remember again, and I feel like I could never say that enough. How it connects us with the world around us and our bodies, how precious it is. So I'm gonna, I could always stay in these spaces for so long, but I'm going to weave it to a close in the next few minutes. So if you want more time with your painting, please take more time and pause this and really let it unfold. Some paintings really want to have a lot of time, and some paintings really don't need much time. And as we do it, we learn to listen to it. I could keep going with this one, but I'm feeling how, for the video's sake, and I know some of us might not have a lot of extra time, we've had a good moment together, and I feel complete. So what I like to do is, whenever you feel ready to make your last strokes for now, and you can always come back to it, let yourself sit with your painting for a minute. And it can also be especially powerful to bring the painting to the part of your body where you were maybe feeling more alive, more activation, more intensity, and show your body that the painting. I like to do this. It doesn't make sense in some ways, but then it makes sense in a lot of ways. It's like I don't have eyes here, but my body senses it, and it can feel this relationship with this painting I just made, and this part of my body that I was connecting with that is part of it. So as you do that, noticing if anything happens in your body. I noticed like some activation, and I took a breath, and then kind of a relief. And then when you're ready, let your eyes look at your painting and really take it in. It might help. In my case, when I turned my painting, it really came together. I can go back to the original shape. You might want to turn it other directions and see what else you see. And in my case, mine emerged into a bird, which is a very common symbol for me to find in my shapes. Easy for me to find an eye in there somewhere. But yeah, see what your painting reminds you of as you move it and turn it, and feel it in different ways. Let yourself get to know it and appreciate it, see the beauty in it, gaze at it, soften your gaze, close your eyes, open your eyes again. Like, how can you really let yourself take in this expression that just came through you? And even if there may be judgments and comparisons, letting those be there too. Those are parts of you, but we're really giving space and voice to the parts that also can appreciate it and also can find magic and meaning in it. And you may be getting some realization sometimes as we give ourselves this time to look at it. You may be getting some realizations about what it means to you. So I recommend, if you do, to write those down, because those things can be so clear for us in a moment and then kind of dissipate as we go about our days. So it can be really helpful to write down those realizations if it's reminding you of anything, if the symbols are reflecting anything to you. And sending some gratitude again to the water and the pigment or whatever other supplies you were able to use, to our bodies for being here, and anything that was coming up. Again, letting yourself remember that support, any little bit of support you could feel, anything that's supporting you in your space. And now here's this painting as a little beam of support. So I recommend, if it feels good to you, to put the painting up somewhere, even on a table, somewhere that you might see it for the next couple days. It's the full moon today, so you might watch this later, but you can always show your painting to the moon, to the sun, show it back to your body again, let yourself see if any other insights come about your painting. And you might want to make another one if it felt good. See, there might be a lot there. This might be a really beautiful resource to come back to many, many times. Share it with others if you feel inspired. That can be so supportive, because a lot of people, everyone has this in them, but we don't always have a lot of practice accessing it. So when we see someone else doing it, it reminds us. And again, like I said, if you're able to share any art within community, that could also be really beautiful to create a space with children, especially that have been going through this loss or this confusion and fear going on, maybe creating a little art space for them to process. And it can be very simple. Don't even have to guide it at any theme. Of course, whatever's alive for them will come out into the painting. That's ready to be seen. And I'm going to show you my painting as a final piece. So I'm really moved by the eye. There's so much wisdom in it, and this brown streak. And it's a hummingbird. The whole beak wasn't able to fit on the painting, but it could be many other types of birds. It also makes me think of all the birds that were in that experience, and if some of them were able to fly out of it, and it really brings that story of the hummingbird, the courage of the hummingbird alive. And so I hope that that whoever's listening and watching this and participating may receive my humble offering, this is my little drop on the fire of the flames of the immensity of this experience, and of so many experiences happening right now for so many on Earth. Sometimes it's so much we can't always even begin to grasp and hold. This is my little drop on that. This is the practice that has nourished me so deeply and continues to bring such gifts every time I do it. And so, I very often am offering some kind of creative container around this work. My next one is going to be starting February 7th, and it's all about dreams, both of our evening, night dreams, and also our dreams for our life and our lucid dreams as well. I'm not a dream expert, but I love tending to dreams, and especially through this visual form. I think it's going to be really rich in a group because we'll all get to share our wisdom of what we've learned about dreaming. So feel free to get in touch if you want to share your painting with me. I would love to. Please email me or send somehow, and this is offered with so much love and grace. I'm not a medical professional, so this is all for just our personal healing and growth, and is not to substitute for professional medical care or advice. But I find this art process so gentle, so loving, so available. And I hope that it has been of benefit to you. And I send my love for whatever you are experiencing in this time. Blessings.